That fight was about as bad for Jack Della Maddalena as it could have gone. Carlos Prates ran through him. And when I say run through him, it was like a buzzsaw. Carlos Prates proves that he is probably among the top 5 in the division. I mean, obviously, he just beat the former champion who's only lost to the champion. Carlos Prates just obliterated him, put him out in round 3. And that leaves us several questions like, where does Jack Della Maddalena sit? Was his title run fraudulent? How good is Carlos Prates, and can he handle wrestling? It didn't look like it. Yeah, but overall, UFC Perth kind of mid, if you want to know the truth. Top 3 fights delivered, sure, but the main event was obviously the story of the night. Jack Della Maddalena, coming off of his loss to Islam Makhachev, looked nothing like himself. I mean, he kind of looked flat-footed. He didn't cut his angles like he normally does. There was a lot of things he didn't do in this fight that I thought he could have done better on, and I expected him to do better on. But instead, we've got a flat-foot guy constantly drowning under the pressure of Carlos Prates. Prates himself caused that, though. We can't just say, oh, Jack Della Maddalena looked bad, because that's not how things work, right? No, Carlos Prates really made JDM very, very uncomfortable with the pressure he was bringing. And it can't be just the pressure, because Jack Della was fine with pressure against Belal Muhammad. No, it was the pressure in combination with the negation of his offense and the power and the elbows and the checking of the leg kicks and basically taking away his original game plan and forcing him to go to his plan B. That's what worked the best for Carlos Prates here. And we probably have a bona fide superstar on our hands. Carlos Prates, man, there's something about him. He's a blast. He is fun to watch. I don't rate him very well against an Islam Makhachev. Honestly, I saw Jack Della get 2, maybe 3 takedowns against him. What's Islam going to do? Like, let's be real. What's Makhachev going to do? Yeah, he's a fellow southpaw, so that might make things a little different for Islam, but I don't see him lasting against Makhachev. Against Michael Morales, though, let's be real. Carlos Prates beats the snot out of Michael Morales. Beats the daylights out of him. I don't even think that's a close fight. A lot of people are like so big on Morales. I am not. I don't think Michael Morales is that great of a fighter. I think he's supremely talented, very athletic, but I think a fighter like Prates with the wealth of experience, the 100+ fights under his belt in both Muay Thai and MMA, I think he runs through somebody like Morales. The physicality can only get you so far. So, what are some of the cool things we saw from Carlos Prates? What did we see from the Brazilian that put him on a new level and something that he didn't show us in his only UFC loss to Ian Machado Garry? Well, first of all, it was the pressure. We talked about it at the top. He really did a good job of scaring off Jack Della Maddalena from pushing forward, something that JDM needed to do to win this fight. So if JDM can't push Carlos Prates to the fence, he can't shoot the takedowns, he can't get his offense going, he can't pivot off. Jack Della really, he likes to pivot off the back foot, but he really truly, he does his best offensive work when he's coming forward. The Belal Muhammad fight, if you watch that one round Belal did so well in, it was when he was coming forward and forcing Jack Della on his back foot. Now that's not to say Jack Della Maddalena's not dangerous off his back foot, no, but when he's fighting against somebody like Prates, who has over 100 pro fights in more than one discipline, but it's striking nonetheless, you really start to get a sense of, oh, there's levels to this. And we don't get to see that much in MMA with fighters with 100, 200 pro fights. Boxing occasionally has that. Like Canelo has over 60 pro fights, and back in the day, Sugar Ray Robinson had over 200 pro fights. Muay Thai guys like Saenchai, Buakaw, and all of them, they have hundreds of pro fights. Rod Tang has like 170, 200 pro fights. Carlos Prates didn't get that opportunity, but he still has like 100 fights. These guys fight all the time. And when you're fighting and competing that much, it really, really sets a difference. And if JDM could not take him out of his game, it was going to be a disaster, and that's what it was. There was a lot of hand checking from Prates. It didn't matter if it was from southpaw or orthodox, referring to Maddalena's stance, but Prates, he was comfortable with the kicks coming from any direction. He was comfortable with the lead hand being left or right. It didn't really matter to him. He was going to throw the feints. He was going to do the low kicks, really ate JDM up with the low kicks. It didn't matter what stance he was in. He was just going to obliterate the knee, and he did. And you watch Prates in this masterpiece throwing the elbows. He's checking the hands, grabbing both hands and coming over the top with elbows. The tomahawk coming in. Like he really did a good job of dissuading any forward pressure from JDM. And I talked about how important it was for Ian Garry to kick at the legs of Prates, and he didn't do the low kicks kind of like Jack Della did. So when JDM threw the low kicks, it was traditional low kicks, whereas Ian Machado Garry's throwing the teeps to the knee and teeps to the leg, and that really kind of made Prates pause for a second. He was throwing the high kick, up high to his left hand, really saying, hey, look, if your left hand leads home, I'm going to knock you out with this high kick. I'm going to really punish you with this high kick. Jack Della couldn't do any of that. He couldn't do any of that. Like he threw the regular low kicks. He didn't throw the teep to the knee as Ian Garry did, and that punished him. The checking of the kick really kind of negated any offense. And there were several times Prates checked the kick and came with a left cross as a southpaw. Jack Della couldn't throw high kicks. Obviously, we knew he wasn't able to throw high kicks. And we identified this in the lead up. I did pick Jack Della to win this fight, but I did say that it would require Jack Della Maddalena to come forward. And if he couldn't do that against Carlos Prates, he's going to be in big trouble. And sure enough, he couldn't come forward against Prates. And sure enough, he was in absolute big trouble. So we talked about it a second ago, Prates versus the higher end of the division. He talked about it in his post-fight. He wants to fight the winner of Ian Machado Garry and Islam Makhachev, which is apparently booked for the Philadelphia card. Don't know. It's not official, but it might as well be. Like, everybody sees it coming at this point. I want to see him fight Michael Morales. Everybody's like, oh, no, you don't want to pit two prospects against each other. Yes, you do. You always want to do that. We've done that since the beginning of time in the UFC. We're not in the prospect building business as in like, oh, we'll just let him get a couple tune-ups. Even though we've seen that lately. No. Book the two guys. Book the Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier when they're coming up. Or Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor. Book them as they're coming up. Let's see who's really ready for the top. Prates, he's going to put away Michael Morales if they fight. Like, Morales, he's going to gas out, guys. We've seen this story a million times. So, I don't favor him against Islam. I actually don't think Islam loses to Ian Machado Garry either, obviously. I think Machado Garry can have the best fight against Makhachev, not named Dustin Poirier. But at welterweight, I think Ian Machado Garry is the biggest threat to him, and it's like a 25% chance that he beats him. I do like the Carlos Prates Ian Machado Garry rematch, though. That's a fun fight. That fight is, let's see if Ian Garry's weapons actually worked against Carlos Prates, and let's see what Prates can do with those weapons. All right, now, co-main event. Quillan Salkilld survived a early adversity against Beneil Dariush. Now, let's be real. He got dropped, but, big but, it was kind of a flash knockdown. Caught him with a jab. He really wasn't off balance, but it did put him down. But he didn't come up wobbled or anything like that. Now, that kind of like, I was like, okay, guys, everybody's blowing this out of proportion. It wasn't he's hurt and all that. No. And Dariush did a good job of kind of wrestling against the fence, really pushing Salkilld to the fence and trying to grind a wrestle out for him. And that's what Dariush does well. He does get in some brawls, and his chin's obviously gone. But this was kind of a good approach for him against Salkilld, a young, hungry, heavy-hitting lightweight. Unfortunately, Salkilld, he did a good job of negating takedowns, fighting the hands, breaking the lead hands of Beneil Dariush, who, ADCC medalist, I believe it was. Very, very good grappler. And Salkilld is a good enough wrestler in his own right to kind of negate these takedowns. So when you've got, it's always like, if Khabib is in a boxing match, it's not going to look great. But if he's in a wrestling match, it'll work. And if you have skills enough to, just to pass, enough to wrestle, and Salkilld is more than capable of counter wrestling what Beneil Dariush brings to the table. So that gives him the opportunity to fight on another day, to stop the takedowns, and to finally get out. And when he does, it's hell unleashed. I mean, like, immediately after he broke free from Beneil Dariush, it was, oh, watch this, a right hand, and really kind of hurt Dariush, put him down, and some ground and pound later, Dariush just turtled up, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's over. And when I say it's over, like, obviously the fight's over, but Beneil Dariush's career has to be over. Like, he just can't take a punch anymore. Send him to RAF. Send him to UFC BJJ. Do something different with him. Hold on to him. He's a good asset. People like him, but he's not meant to take a punch anymore, and it really kind of, it sucks, but it's the truth. Let's see. Steve Erceg and Tim Elliott was a weird fight. I thought, Steve Erceg clearly won the fight. Tim Elliott's such a hard fighter. He's like, if you had Dominic Cruz and you had like the Wario version of his Mario, it'd be Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott has that weird wonky style of, he's spinning, he's moving in and out, dancing a little bit, and kind of just having fun in there, and that's how he's made his way. You forget, like, he is the winner of that Ultimate Fighter season that was like, hey, we got to find Mighty Mouse a new champion to fight, and they took a whole bunch of champions from promotions. It was Tim Elliott that won that, and he beat, like, I don't remember if he actually beat them, but he won that over Figueiredo, over Brandon Moreno, over, I think Pantoja was also in that too, if I'm not mistaken. Those names were all like, you look at the flyweight division, like, oh, it's all that season. Brandon Moreno was in it. Tim Elliott won it. So he's a tough fighter. He's a good fighter. Very experienced. 21-14-1 record. Erceg, had that tough fight against Ode Osborne after losing, 3 straight fights to Pantoja, Carl France, and Moreno. He was that was at bantamweight, and it was a little close for his liking, so back down at flyweight. I like that. And his game plan was simple. He basically was like, okay, when Tim Elliott is out doing his shenanigans, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to jab, make it kind of hard for him to get in, but I'm not like, oh, he's going to come in, I have to catch him on the end of my punches. No. Instead, he waited for Tim Elliott to come to him, and that's where he started using his crisp, tight boxing, because he has really good boxing in the pocket. He has really good uppercuts. He comes off and he pivots well, creates these angles and stuff. That's something that Steve Erceg does very, very well. So that was basically the story of the fight. Let's like being honest, it was just that. He just waited for Tim Elliott to come to him and did the thing, and that won him the fight. So 2 on the trot after dropping 3 straight for Steve Erceg. Good for him. I like Erceg. I think he's a good asset to the 125 division, and I'm glad he's back there. I hope, he continues to find success. I think they just kind of threw him into the deep end of the division a little too early. Granted, Pantoja needed a challenger, and he stepped up to the occasion, but I don't know. Him versus Kai France next would be real fun. I think that'd be a cool fight. Really crisp boxing. I think that's a fight Carl France can win too. Marwan Rahiki beat Ali Schmid. 4-2 Ali Schmid. Was this like a short notice fight or something? Rahiki moved to 9-0. Yeah, it was supposed to be Jack Jenkins that was on this card. So yeah, Ali Schmid kind of didn't really need to be in there. 4-2, now 4-3. Might want to just cut this guy off of the rip. Brando Persic beat Shamil Gaziev. Shamil Gaziev's just bad, y'all. Very, very bad. Speaking of bad, Louis Sutherland, who was the lowest ranked fighter on Tapology's heavyweight division, beat Tai Tuivasa. That's 7 in a row for Tai Tuivasa or something like that. You gotta go, bro. He's 14-10 now. As much as I memed Tai Tuivasa and talked about how he's on a title run because he was, he almost knocked out Cyril Gane, if you believe that. It's just bad for him. He's not in shape. He can't handle the grappling. If you're losing to Louis Sutherland, you're not cut out for the UFC anymore. This will be the second time he got cut. And how old is Tuivasa? Let me see real quick here. He is 33. He's not even that old, especially for heavyweight. Cam Ralston beat Robert Bershek. Unanimous decision. Ralston's a really good prospect. It was good to see him kind of go the distance. Robert, okay. They talk about Polish power. I wish they would quit. Let's see here. Junior Tafa beat Kevin Christian. If you're losing to Junior Tafa in the year of our Lord 2026, you might as well be cut just off of that right there. You can't be losing to the Tafa, bro. It's like he's 7-5. No, he looks good at 205. I'll give him credit, but in first round knockout, elbows from top position, just kind of bullied Kevin Christian. Not a good fighter. Jacob Malkoun defeated Gerald Meerschaert after almost getting submitted in the third round. A lot of people are hype on Malkoun. I'm still not sold on him, but I still think he's a fun fighter. Good for these Australian cards. So yeah, Colby Thickness, down with the thickness, beat Vince Morales. My boy Vince really hurt my feelings, but you gotta win, you gotta lose some, and Thickness is a really good prospect, 9-1 now. I think he's got some promise at 135, but this division is so hard. It's like, it's going to be hard to rise in something like this. Vince Morales is kind of on his way out. He's a little older, been around, but he is a good test for everybody. I hope they keep him around. Wes Schultz defeated Ben Johnston, guillotine choke, always nice. Jonathan Mikhachev beat Thimba Garimbo, split decision. We can't be going to split decisions with Thimba Garimbo here. And then Cody Steele defeated Dom Marfan to open up the card with a heel hook. Always good to see a good heel hook finish. At the end of the day, this card really didn't set the world on fire. The top 3 fights were really good, though. I enjoyed them. Jack Della Maddalena, man, I don't know where he goes from here. I like looking at welterweight. It's just not a good sight for him. Looking down the rankings, like it's nothing but kills. Welterweight's probably the best division. I'm looking like, what if he fights Michael Morales or Sean Brady? Like, what's going to happen here? Kamaru Usman, he probably beats Buckley. Mike Malott, yeah. I mean, Imosov's coming up, so there's that option. He's fighting somebody soon. I forget who. Uros Medic is there. There's some scary monsters coming up, and Jack Della Maddalena has to get it together, because if he really does want to make another run at the title and show what he can do against an Islam Makhachev, like, it has to happen now. He's young. He can still get better. And he has to get better while he finds the time. Fight Finders, this is my playlist here of all 8 episodes. Episode 9 is on the way. I know I've been saying it a long time, but it is coming. It is coming! A little Jerry Prohaska for you guys. But yeah, get caught up on all the episodes. Check it out. Follow the playlist, all that, so you can catch up on the new episode when it gets out. Later.